It looks like you're really, I mean, just by looking at the cameras you're making and the enthusiasm we can see in your photos, it looks like you really have been into this for quite some time. Have you done any serious work without pinholes?
Without pinhole, you mean photography or any other kind of art?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
I've done some printmaking, and really, basically, I consider myself a printmaker. And the whole reason I started into Pinhole was to get a hold of some imagery, to work through some images, and then make them into etchings. But it never went that far. I just stayed with Pinhole, and I kept saying for a few years, well, maybe I'll start working in color and do some etchings. And it's funny, but the other day I woke up with this idea that this one piece has to become an etching. And I thought, oh no, because that opens up a whole nother can of worms there because I don't have a press now. I sold my press. So, and it creeps back every once in a while that I want to go back to color etching, but so far I haven't.
Very cool. So you were doing classic printing, like stone etching, that type of thing? Or?
Plate etchings.
Plate etching. Okay.
Yeah, zinc plates.
The equivalent of some kind of lithography. Yeah.
I was doing etching.
Etching. Okay. Pam knows the technical differences more than I do. She's done that. I have not. Well, that's very cool.
But
were you involved?
Oh, go ahead.
Were you involved with solar plate etching?
No.
Oh,
just
okay.
I was doing 3-plate color etchings.
Wow.
Okay.
So, but I have to say, I think that the Pinhole photographs look a lot like printmaking mediums. They have that printmaking feel with the paper and the ink. So it's really, I really gravitate toward that.
I really like Pinhole since it tears down all the technical BS related to photography, puts it down to its basics, no cost, really basic, you're not worried about what camera you're using, what lens, and all the technical details go out the window for the most part.
Oh yeah.
It's really cool. It's really cool. Now we're coming up on 7. We have some people joining us. Maybe we should just officially begin. Agreement. So welcome to Photo's Gallery Talk. I'm Eileen Novak, the competition coordinator for Photo, and we have Paul Millay co-hosting, who's our vice president, and we have Pam Waldrop, our president, joining us today remotely from Virginia, since she usually hosts things, but fortunately she's had trouble getting internet connections. And now we're glad that she's here, managed to get a good internet connection. Welcome, Pam. Welcome, everyone else.
I'm having a lot of trouble right now, too. It's fading.
Oh, no. That's not good. We have Andrea joining us. Now we'll just ease into it here. I know I just asked you this, but now for people to go into, I mean, when I saw your photos last year and your best shot, I mean, I was immediately drawn to them since they were so unique. It's what we usually see. I mean, I only saw that one. I think that was the eye photograph.
Yes.
Right, the eyes. And that struck me so much as being such a terrific vision that I just wanted to know more about your work and how you work and what your philosophy was. And I was really interested in reading your artist statement. But my main question, I mean, this whole series, I mean, this is the one you have up, right? You had up during your show here. Seemed like a very consistent series, right? Being people in the land and people in their environment, basically environmental portraits, right? You see them that way as environmental portraits in some kind of way?
I see them as a figure in the environment.
Right.
That's what I
Okay.
see them in a space that is surreal. And as I like to say, it's as if you happened upon the scene. So that you can imagine that you were just walking or something and you said, "Hey, guess what I saw today?" This crazy thing. This woman was by this big structure or whatever. So that's what I hope to present.
I think you're extremely successful in that. That's for sure. I mean, are you familiar with any other photographers who did something similar in the past at all? Not
Well,
exactly what you're doing, but similar.
um,
I can think of
well,
a few.
Ruth, do you know of Ruth Thorne Thompson?
No,
She's
I don't know her.
okay. Well, she did constructions, like she constructed things out of cardboard and small objects, and she made them into an environment. And I'm very inspired by her work because it's simple and direct, and you can just feel the space and the environment. And she really portrays that as it could be real, but in a way, it's not. So
Sure.
that's
Sure.
kind of what I like to be.
I mean, I'm thinking back more to the. I mean, I was really into photography in the 70s, so a lot of my context comes from the 70s. I took a long break from the end of the 80s to the mid 2000s, away from photography. So I'm thinking of even Edward Western had nudes in the dunes. So
Yes.
did uh, very famous photographer back in the day, Win Bullock.
Yes.
Also did
Yes.
nudes, especially nudes in the dunes. Also, that he did his daughter in a forest.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar
Mhm.
along that vein, but you've taken it to your vision, which is
Yeah.
extremely unique in my opinion.
Yeah,
And
when Bullock with the light figure and in the dark spacious background, those kinds of things I love. Small figures.
solitary figures and coping with the environment, or as you say, just coming across them. It's really unique. And you said you were doing printing before you got into pinhole photography. You would consider yourself a printer. Can you tell us what you think that means? Because to me, printing is such a broad context.
Printmaker, I feel like I make prints and I use pinhole photography to make prints. So for me, it's the whole gamut from the making of the cameras. I feel like that's on the same line as making plates and etching plates. And so I'm making the cameras and using paper and the print, the way and then I'm editing them in Photoshop. So I feel that I use pinhole photography, and of course some are much more minor in editing than others, but the end result is a print. I don't feel like it's a photograph as much as a print. I feel my sensibility is that I feel the paper and the look of it as a print.
Very cool. Very good. And obviously you're using film since you're putting these into little cans and things.
Yeah,
So, right?
paper negatives.
Using paper negatives exclusively?
Yes.
Excellent.
Now,
Okay, that was my other question, whether you're using film or paper negatives.
so let me see here, paper. So here's one of my cameras I have on my tripod now.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And is that literally an oatmeal can, or is that something else?
I don't know. It was something I got on eBay. I just try to look for different shapes and
I saw
I
that.
thought that little guy was cool.
I loved your Altoid tins one.
Yeah.
That was really cool. I thought so. Paper negatives. That makes it very cool. Which means these things are extremely slow. These are extremely long exposures. Then.
Yeah, they are, and so that's why a lot of the time I'm outdoors doing the work because the models are posing much too long indoors, and I have hot lights, and I do have some work that I've done but I haven't done anything this year indoor or last year. So I'm
Very
just
cool.
looking forward to going
Yeah,
out.
very cool. Paul, do you think we should share the slideshow so that we can talk about some images and we can discuss the process as we go through the images? Is that okay, Sharon?
Sure. Mhm.
Are you ready to do that, Paul?
Yeah, hold on, I'm getting it.
Okay, cool.
Is it up?
It is up.
All right.
Excellent, excellent.
right.
Okay. So let's, I mean, this is just the beginning slide, but we could talk about this one.
Okay, so this image, every year for the past, I guess, oh my gosh, it's at least 10 years. I've been going up to New Paltz area, upstate New York, and been working at a property with another photographer, Dan McCormick. And I mean, he's also been in the show. And together we did a shoot with the model and I just brought the chair out and she posed in the chair. And it's funny because I usually don't concentrate too much on faces that I don't think they're important. They're mostly this sort of anonymous kind of non-portrait, but I feel especially attached to this piece because it's a little bit more about her expression and her face in this piece.
Now, the setting for this, is this actually a swimming pool or what is it?
It's a stream.
A stream.
I brought the chair out to in the stream.
Cool. Cool. And this is very dark all around there. Is that because this is at night?
No, everything is broad middle of the day.
Okay.
So, but you know, exposing for her. So I'm not
Sure.
going to get a whole lot in the background. I
Sure.
have to make it
Sure.
sometimes.
Yeah, that's pinhole photography. They're extremely small apertures, right? Got it.
Yes.
Got it. It's almost like you're doing on-camera flash sometimes with pinhole.
Mhm.
Next slide, Paul.
Sure.
Here's your bio.
Mhm.
It's for people, you know it as well. Next slide, Paul. We're going with the artist statement. I mean, this is, we saw pictures of some of your cameras here. Can you describe what we're seeing here?
Yes, I did a feature for Krefelden. It's, I don't even know if I'm saying that right. It's a German publication. And she asked if she could have a photograph of my cameras. And so I just took a photograph of my cameras just in my hat box. And she's like, oh, could you do a little bit more? So my friend's a photographer. I said, we have to do a portrait of my cameras now, a portrait, not just a snapshot. So this is in my cellar, and my son's a graphic artist, and that was his table he was working on. And so we just set them up and she took them.
Very interesting. As I said, I love the Altoid 10. Do you have
Yeah.
a favorite one of these? Each one, can you, I mean, your images are not manipulated, right? Afterwards, besides normal processing or printmaking, but they're not composited or anything
No, they're
digital.
not. No.
Right, so
No.
all the image we see, all the distortions exclusively made by the camera and the
Right.
media. And what, do you have a favorite or something, or one that was particularly unique?
What, in these cameras?
Yeah,
Well, so I guess I mean, I really love the black camera because it's just it's sort of a in the middle of the road basic. So I know that I can get just more of a gentle distortion with that black camera. And the one on the right, the small one, the octagon, I hold them as verticals, and they do really have an interesting distortion and a narrow format. So it won't take in a big space, just a narrow one. So if you have some trees on the side, let's just say, and when we go through the images, I'll show you which one was it. I believe there's some taking with that particular camera.
very cool, very cool. You're always looking for more objects to turn into cameras?
Yeah, in fact, today I looked at eBay and there's well, I call it a camera. There's a tin that is narrow, more narrow at the bottom, and then it gets wider at the top. No, never done anything like that. So I think I may purchase it and try it out.
Cool. That's very cool. Next slide, Paul.
Aha, this is
Oh,
one.
this one is especially striking. Can you please describe the context we're looking at here?
Okay, so this is taken with one of those cameras that I said are narrow format, and the distortion curves around the edges. So it's a different distortion than this one, of course, than catnap. But
Go back to the other one.
Yeah, sorry.
Go back to that one. Okay.
Wait,
Right.
hold on. Sorry. Stupid thing.
it's okay. So this was taken at a workshop up in New Paltz, and we worked at Unison Art Center, and they have a sculpture garden. So the model, she was laying down in the, oh, poor thing, in all those twigs and things, and in this piece, she was centered more in the middle, and then I cropped the bottom because then we have more space at the bottom, and I didn't want her in the center of the piece. I wanted her lower. So that was how I edited this piece. And in the top, I mean, really, this is the 1 in a million light coming in, just streaming in like that on her. It really was surprising because it happens sometimes, but not always. So just worked here.
Yeah, it's just serendipity then coming in.
Yes.
Everything came together. Everything came together and worked. I mean,
Mhm.
so this was at a workshop. Were
Yes.
they providing the models for you there, or were
Yeah.
you did the work? Okay.
This particular model, she also lives in New Jersey, and I've worked with her since, but and I have met models through the Unison, and yeah,
Okay,
so
very cool.
they're wonderful. I don't think they're having them anymore, but they're great to attend, really.
I guess so. Yes, absolutely. I mean, you're certainly making them work for you. All right, next one, Paul. This is the one we just talked about at the beginning. Next one.
Skip it. Next
Next
one.
one. Paul. Next one. There you go. This is the one that we submitted that we really caught our eye immediately because of the, again, it's hard to see in some of your images, get the context of what we're looking at. And I'm sure
Wow.
that's one of the visions you're going for there is to not know what you're looking at.
Right. So this again was taken in upstate New York at a property. A sculptor that made, oh boy, and I even forget his name. But he made his house out of this, I'm going to call it foam kind of stuff. I don't know what it really is, but it's this white things, and he made his sculptures. And he had this little pond in his yard, and there was this float. And so she's on this float in the pond. And you can see in the background, there's another structure. I've been there numerous times to work.
Oh, so that's a sculpture in the background. Okay,
Yes. Hmm.
got it.
I like to
Pond
work with sculptures.
Oh. Go ahead, Sharon. I'll be quiet. I didn't.
I said I do like to work with sculptures. I really seek out sculptures. I go around to different universities and just anywhere, parks and things, anywhere I can find something like that, and work with the sculptures. It's just, I like the play of a structure with the model instead of just being out there in nature. I get kind of lost if it's just nature and a model. I need something else, even if it's a chair, just something.
Something always provides more context. I mean, what she's floating on here, did you bring that, or is that a found object at the site?
That's one of the floats at this property.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so I imagine it's easier to do this type of photography at a private location You're not
Oh,
in a
yeah.
public park doing this
It's
stuff.
a must. If I'm going to do the new work, it's a must.
I would
Oh, yeah.
think.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, combined with the eyes on the float, it's
Yes.
very, it's such a striking image. It's amazing. And the background looks like it's it's all in front of a mountain because of the distortion.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. Next one, Paul.
Eileen, can you just check to make sure nobody's sitting in the waiting room?
I'm admitting everybody I see come in.
All right,
I get a notification.
because Pam said her sister was trying to get in.
You're not seeing that?
I don't see it right now, and I don't know how to get it back.
All right, I'll double check. Your industrial series here, we have a couple of that.
Uh-huh.
Now, when I first saw this one, because of the turn down corner on the upper left, was that actually the paper being distorted in the camera, or was that something else?
So this is the same model that was in the eyes. I really love working with Noelle. She's just great. And yeah, this was in Hudson, New York, another outing with Dan McCormick. And so when I got to this location, I thought, oh my gosh, this structure is so big. And I really do look for skylines, horizon lines, this kind of thing where I can gauge, well, this is going to be, I'm going to concentrate on ground or I'm going to concentrate on sky. But this was flat in front of me. And I know if I backed up, she would be too small. So as other photographers were working, I saw the shadow coming in. And I thought, all right, now there you go. There's my horizon. This is a play that I can use with this big shadow coming in on the upper left side of this. And that's what that was. So
Well, but maybe another photographer looking over your shoulder. Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. What was the shadow of? Do you know?
Oh, I think it's just reflecting parts of the building.
Oh, okay, cool. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, this is a huge building. This is, well, as you can see, you're not even seeing the top of it. A big factory.
No, we have no idea. From this image, we have no idea what this structure is whatsoever. It could be anything. It could be anything from a dam to just a concrete wall. You know.
I can see it like that when you're talking about it that way. It could
Right.
be. Could be. And
It's
it
totally
is.
unknown. It looks like it's engulfing her, about to, you could even say it's about to, take her in and devour her.
Yes, he's holding it apart. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So did you do a whole series of an industrial? I know you included a couple in this show. Are there more?
I break my work up into different bodies of work. And for the most part, they really can be interchangeable because they seem to do the same thing and have the same interest, except for the body of work that's with the animals. But I mean, she could be a local haunt or industrial. It's just really wherever I feel we can place it looks best within the series.
And I imagine you're always looking for new locations. Do you have
Always.
any insights or how you go about finding it other than going to a workshop?
I do. Well, I look up sculpture gardens, or sculptures, New Jersey, Philadelphia, New York, and then I go scout them out usually. And I do have a few that I'm going to be looking at locations now. And in fact, my next shoots next week is going to be, and my husband found this, he's pretty good because he goes on these bicycle rides and things. And I always say when he's leaving, no, be on the lookout for me. So
Good idea.
yeah, it takes a village. So he went through a town that there was a stained glass artist, and they went on his property, and there's this big head sculpture in his yard. Like, oh my gosh, I have to go there. So that's next. And I reached out to him, and he said, absolutely, come over. So things like that. I mean, sometimes we just come across something, but I do definitely search things out. And there's a sculpture tour in Philly. They take you to different locations where and they talk about, you know, a certain section of Philadelphia. So I did one of their tours, and there's about 5 pieces in one area that eventually I'll go work at.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean,
Yeah.
For some reason, I'm thinking of the Rocky Steps. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was there on Sunday on the Rocky Steps looking for sculptures.
No, not sculpture, but such an iconic place in Philadelphia.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love the art museum. Yeah,
Right.
beautiful.
Other than the Liberty Bell, I mean, that would be great too.
Uh-huh.
Next one, Paul. Wow, this is so surreal looking. So surreal.
So this is taken with one of those small cameras, the Altoid type of camera. It was, but with the yellow one that's a little bit bigger. And I've had this paper in this camera for a very long time. Sometimes I don't get to all my cameras, which I do take out about 25 of them. So apparently I didn't get to these cameras, and they've been hanging around in my dark room. So these circles on them, I don't know what they are. I have no idea. They just came about when I developed it. And I just really like them. They look like little medallions or something. So, but anyway, the image itself is taken at Woodmere Art Center, another place that has sculptures. So we headed over to Woodmere, and there's a fountain. Luckily, it wasn't turned on, and I brought a ladder, and so Justine could go higher into the sculpture. And nobody bothered me. They were closed on a Monday, and she just stood up on the ladder and reached into this fountain, and that's the image.
And this model, this was done not at a workshop. So somebody you know locally or you've worked with before as well?
I've worked with Justine, yes, definitely. She's my daughter's friend. And
Oh, cool.
yeah, so.
Yeah. Well, friends and relatives are the easiest way to get models. So.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I love that. And these dots, as you say, these imperfections, that is just very incredibly that they came together and actually worked in the image, because they sort of reflect the sun on the upper side of it.
And that is not the sun either. I could never have faced the sun with this. That's
Okay.
another one of those guys, just in the right.
Okay. So what is the glow behind the statue then?
Well, that's just the pinhole light.
That's just the pin. Okay.
Yeah, like, you know, that it radiates out. It's the brightest in the center, and then it radiates out. And this type of camera produces, the flat back cameras produce more of that type of look.
And this is the Altoid tin, you said?
Yeah, it was that yellow one, the small,
Okay.
it's a very small one, like
Okay.
the Altoid.
Very cool. Then I thought I heard you say before that you sometimes used artificial light as well. Is that true?
Not
Are you
outdoors,
right?
and
Not
not
outdoors.
outdoors. I do have hot lights.
Okay, cool. All right, Paul, next one. Eyes again. Wow.
Yes. So, again, during the pandemic, we're off, you know, with riding bikes and going around to universities, and I had a whole list of them. So this is at Princeton. And so this is a Picasso sculpture. And in fact, I have another one from this shoot, and it's her where you don't even see the eyes or anything. It's very dark, and you just see the stand, and looks like she just fell down. So you can just get so many different looks just from one sculpture. And when I go out, I do only concentrate on one location, because 25 chances is really not too many when you're doing photography and you're trying to get an image. So it's this, maybe I'll use this tin for this, and then that same tin, I mean, same pose, but a different camera for it, and get all different looks. So it's not usual that I can get 2 pieces from a shoot. It's usually one, if I get one, because
Cool.
lots of
Speaking
times.
about, question about your process here. You mentioned you went to the sculpture garden, this particular sculpture, do you just take a single camera with you, or you take a variety and do different shots?
Yes, I take 25 cameras
Okay.
and I do different angles, different poses. The model will do different poses. I figure the different image formations for the different, I'll look at a sculpture and I'll say, well, I think I'm going to use mostly these cameras, and then I'll get the narrow format and I'll say, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. So, yeah, I really do delve into the one location with a lot of different ideas and cameras and poses and yeah, so
Very
because
cool. That answers pinhole photography. I mean, you could be bringing 25 cameras with you. I know these are all all cameras are extreme wide angles. So framing, is that any times an issue for you?
not really. I think that the best thing for me and the thing that enticed me the most about pinhole photography is that there's no viewfinder. And I was completely fascinated and relieved, actually, that I don't have to look through anything. And I can just imagine what it could be. It's more of this conjuring up, this hocus pocus, all of this kind of stuff, like the gods, please intervene because I need help. It's like when I'm behind the viewfinder, things can get boring, I think. So pinhole is much more, if it can take over, boy, it's much more imaginative than what I can think of. So we're a good match. That's how I feel.
Yeah,
do you
that's
think
very
over
true. I
time-
mean, it speaks to pinhole, getting rid of all the technical stuff.
Uh-huh.
Also, I mean, do you set more than one camera up at a time and start the exposures on all 25 at once? Because these are long exposures, right?
Well, no, yes and no. Well, I have put a couple cameras on two cameras on, I have two tripods. So I might say it's getting late or something, or it's getting chilly and I want to hurry up, then I may put a second tripod and two different cameras and pull the tape both times and count. But outdoor, usually, I would say the longest exposure from my deepest cameras would be about 2 to 3 minutes in the shade. So, but for a model to stand there 3 minutes being still, it's not easy. So I try to really to be in overcast days or in the sun and not so much deep shade with my large cameras, at least.
Sure, of course. I mean, is there any special type of photo paper you're using at all?
I've been using the same paper for years, and I just don't really feel like experimenting with different kinds. I'm sure there are other great papers. I use Arista EDU. It's just an average paper I get at Freestyle through Freestyle Photo in California. I order it from there. Now, a friend gave me some fiber paper, and that's such a different look.
Hmm.
And I'm not sure I like it or not, although I have a piece this year is in crappy camera at Soho Photo that was done on that fiber paper. It's
Right.
slower. That paper is a slower paper. So, but it has a lot of texture, and I don't know.
Yeah, so this paper is resin coated and smoother with less grain basically in it when you make the.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know. That's what was confusing me originally when I saw this, because it was so smooth. I didn't look like a paper negative to me.
Uh-huh.
Paul, next image. Moon.
All right. So this one was also on crappy camera a couple years ago. And well, once again, my husband dragging me off to a festival at night in Camden that I don't want to go to, but being a good sport, I do. And when I'm at the festival, I see this moon, and I guess it's part of the festival, but you could stand in it. It's made out of some kind of material, and people were writing things on it, and they wrote still a lot of writing and scribbling and drawings on it. So the next day, I went back with Sierra, and we did a shoot, and she's in a bodysuit, and it looks like she's coming in for a landing on the moon.
It does. It
I know.
does.
I don't know. I mean, it's just, again, it was a surprise to me, really.
It's an amazing sculpture and amazing how you got this image working. I mean, it does look like she's riding the moon somewhere into the distance,
Yeah.
off to her destiny somewhere.
Yeah.
I just want to mention, anybody wants to ask a question, just chime in. We're here. We can take a break, and somebody else wants to ask questions. Paul, do we have another one? I forgot what number slide we're on here.
I don't know.
I think this might be the last. I think moon was the last one, but I'm not sure.
You
I
may
do have a
have.
question on how you figure out timing.
Next slide.
How you figure out your process for timing. How
Well,
long for
pretty much.
exposure?
Yeah, pretty much I know the cameras. If I get a new camera, then I may test it and see, but I pretty much know the exposures of the cameras now. So I know for sure my largest camera will be 15 seconds in bright sun. And then I go from there. So if it's overcast, I may add another 2 seconds. And I don't get that crazy about it because I guess I'm a little spoiled with Photoshop. I can bring in tones if I overdo it a little bit or under. I can try to bring it up a little bit. I guess just as you would in a dark room or something. I don't really know that process, but as long as I'm in the ballpark, I think it's okay. I usually can get in the ballpark.
I have a question. How are you reversing your images? Since the paper you were getting a negative.
Yeah, then I scan them into Photoshop and flip them in Photoshop.
So you reverse it digitally.
Yes.
They're
Which will also,
wonderful.
okay, so you reverse it in Photoshop before you make the print.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I thought so. Okay, so there's the answer to my question. That's why I'm seeing less screen, because if you use the paper negative to make a contact print to another piece of paper, you get a lot more texture and so.
Okay. Yeah,
Right.
and of course I can clean up the texture if I don't like it. Sometimes there's stuff all over and I can just clean it up.
Very cool. Have you ever delved into alternate photographic printing processes? Palladium, platinum, cyanotypes, that
No.
type of. Okay.
No, I'm too interested in imagery to what's the next shoot going to bring and that kind of thing that I guess I don't really feel enticed to do different types of printing. I love the look of it all, but for now, at least I think I'm happy with making prints on archival paper.
I
Sharon?
have a similar philosophy. So the image is the important thing. Go ahead, Pam. You had a question?
No, actually, I did, Andrea.
Andrea,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I'm so sorry that I'm not here, but Sharon, I just have to tell you that I had surgery today, but I knew that I wanted to be here. So
Oh,
here, and your work is really it's just fascinating to me. I have a question though, because I collect tins and I wondered, have you ever used a tin that was oblong?
oblong, is that meaning, are you meaning
Oval shape.
cylinder, like a cylinder one?
Like an oval.
Yes, I do. I use oval. And I think there's 5 or 6 ovals that I have that I love, and they are crazy distortion. This one is not one of them. This was taken with an amaretto tin, if you know what they look like. I don't know, the liquor tin.
Yes.
But yes, I love the oblong.
So really, your work I'm not going to say that you don't have control over it, but it's also in the process that it goes through, you're surprised at what comes out as well.
Absolutely. And I call my process a collaboration between the model, the cameras, the environment, myself, and the gods, because honestly, it's a collaboration, and that's how I want it to be. There's so much feedback that comes from me in working with the model and the Pinhole camera. It just gives. There's just so much, and it's so exciting to be in the dark room and to say what when you're just looking at the images, and I just love it. I just can't imagine any other way of working now.
When you said about the viewfinder, I am understanding now why it would be like almost like a negative to have a viewfinder.
Yes.
But it's just, last question, do you ever feel that there's a spiritual component to it?
Spiritual you mean like, well, I'm not really sure.
Just in terms of, I mean, you have control over a certain amount of it, but then
Yes.
there are other things that happen that are the surprise.
Yes.
And do you ever feel that it's coming from above?
Oh, I do. I think my whole being in Pinhole comes from above. So I have this story related to that. So now this Eric Renner, I don't know if anyone ever heard of Eric Renner? So anyway, Eric Renner is, he really brought pinhole photography to the public. He's published numerous books, and if you're working in Pinhole, you know Eric Renner. And so a friend of mine gave me one of his books, and that's really how I got started with pinhole photography, because when I opened this book, I saw these magical, fabulous images, and I said, now this is what I want my world to look like. This is what I'm after. So I love Eric Renner and what he's done for pinhole photography. So we have a new neighbor. I was doing pinhole for about, I guess a couple of years, and a new neighbor moved in across the street. And so she came over and knocked on my door one day, and she said, I have a question for you. Do you know who Eric Renner is? And I just couldn't believe it. I said, Suzanne, of course I know who Eric Renner is. How do you know who Eric Renner is? And she said, oh, I grew up with him in Philadelphia. And she's still friends with his sister. And that they were just talking about Eric, and she said, oh, Eric's into that crazy pinhole stuff still. And she said, oh, I think my neighbor's into that. Well, anyway, out of all places in the whole world, and being across the street from where I live in Laurel Springs, New Jersey, there is somebody who's friends with Eric Renner. I mean, that to me is spiritual.
What are the chances of that, right?
Right. And so these are things that say to me, they're like that little confirmation. Yes, you are on the right path.
That's wonderful. Well, your work definitely displays that you're on the right path, because it's just extraordinary.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I feel like Pam wants to say something. Pam? Pam, can you hear me? I think
Muted.
she's having internet problems. She can't hear me.
Muted.
I know she's muted.
Oh, now she's moving.
Okay, hello?
We can hear
Hello?
you now. We can hear you now.
Okay, I'm sorry, I got kicked off 3 times. I'm on my phone now, so forgive me if I'm asking a question that was asked before, Sharon. I'm always interested to know about the process that you go through to develop your narratives, and how much of it is a preconceived, intentional journey, and how much of it evolves out of what happens during the process.
Mm-hmm. It's always walking the fine line, I gotta say. And I I'll bring props, and of course I have my location lined up. I have my model lined up, and then it's just kind of, well, I'm going to be receptive at that point because as the great Robert Rauschenberg said, I don't trust ideas, especially good ones. And that's how I feel. I have these good ideas, but they're usually not the ones that are the keeper in the end. It's usually that unexpected, that what I call, I have a name for it, a glimpse. It's like, oh, wait, what was that? And that's the keeper for me. And so it's pretty much, I try to be in a playful state and curious state when I'm working, and not in a controlling state with, I don't think that's
Mhm.
right. Or, I know what I want. I want to do this and do this, and then we're done. It's like this image here, this performance. That was the model's idea, to put to put the wicker against her chest and just balance it like that and hold it there. And I didn't have that idea, she did. So very much about collaboration and being present. But I do, of course, have to have some idea where I'm going, what model I want to use, bring some props, and just to get me into the whole process and setting. So that's the way.
Sharon, on this image performance,
Uh-huh.
this is indoors now?
Yes. So this is funny. There's a photographer.
I have a bazillion questions, but I'll limit it to
Okay. Well, so there's a photographer that lives in town, and I asked if I could go do a shoot with her in her studio. So moseying around, she has, being a photographer, portraits and stuff. She has those little stands and things. And so this is the model standing on one of them, and a friend brought me these wicker panels, and she said, I thought you might like these for one of your shoots, and takes a village. So I brought the wicker, and she balanced it against her chest. And this is an older image. This is, gosh, I don't know, maybe 8 years old. And for some reason I put it aside. And then one winter, when I was kind of bored, I was looking through my old paper negatives, and I said, I don't know, maybe this just needs a crop, because it had a whole ceiling in it. And I just cropped the top off, and it became an image. So it's the story of that.
Sharon, as you have had more experience with Pinhole, and I don't, let me ask you, how long have you been using this process?
Okay, so I think it's 15 years.
Okay, I was wondering how your process has changed since it's, when you originally started using it. How has the process evolved to where you are now?
Well, when I first started, I didn't even have my cameras on the tripod. I just used to put them on the ground or on something that I carry with me, and just put them down, and it was so limiting. And then my husband said, well, you got to put them on your tripod. We could just put these mounts on them. And then it grew into, instead of just certain shapes, I kept adding like the cylinder, different oblong shapes, and learning that, well, wait a minute, I can't just go out with one narrow format camera, because that's not enough chances to get an image. Should I want, and this is a narrow format camera, should I want this, I need at least 6 of them. So they grew and just grew, and I realized things like, I really do like overcast days, and just started refining my my ideas. And I pretty much don't change that much, I gotta say. I still like the same kind of imagery as I did when I was a kid. Honestly, I do. I haven't changed. I think keep refining, and I'm not bored either. And I don't feel like I'm done. I feel like I still have a lot more to discover. And so I just keep working with the models and working with props and locations. Yeah, keeps going.
They're stunning images, absolutely stunning. Have you talked at all about what papers you're using, your printing process?
Well, I'm using, well, as far as printing goes, I use Epson archival paper.
Mhm.
So that's what I use.
It looks almost like an exhibition fiber paper, which looks like a darkroom paper.
Uh-huh. But my paper in the cameras are Arista. They're just
Mm.
resin coated, simple. No, I don't think it's a great paper. But I am fussy about my printing paper. I like it to look very professional and it to be archival.
Sharon, on this image performance, you said that that was the model's idea to put up this, what was it? I'm sorry, what was it, bamboo or something against her chest?
Wicker.
Yeah, I just call it a wicker panel, but yeah,
Wicker panel. Okay, but to me, I mean, not knowing what it is here and just looking at it, it just, from a very high level view, it looks like she's pouring out something out of her body. Something's pouring out of her. It could be, you could interpret it as an emotional release of some type. To me, anyway.
and that's funny. Yeah, that you say that, because I have friends that look at my work and say things like that, and I don't see it at all, because what
Right.
I look at is my craft. Like,
The title you created is performance. So then why is this a performance?
well, like, because she's standing on that object,
I got
and
it.
it just looks like she's got an audience or something to be in front of her. And I'll tell you what, when I'm working, I'm the craftsman, and I care about the composition and the light and all that stuff, as everyone does, I'm sure. But then when I'm done, I can get a little distance. I feel like I can let my guard down and say, let me have fun and see, who is she? Who can she be? What can she be doing? Who is she? And she just has this look of, those little toy things that, I don't know if you know, like you put your finger in and they move. I don't know if you ever saw them, but they're like little figures, and they're on a stand, and has anybody ever seen them and they can move? It reminds me of that. Like
I
she's
think
this little
so.
doll figure.
Yeah, I think I have seen those.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yes.
Paul, was this the last slide, Paul?
Let's find out. Nope.
I didn't think so.
Yeah. So that's from the series, The Wisdom of the Saints, with the animals, and it started when I saw in a neighbor's yard I thought it was a real deer, but it was a target. You use them for target practice. And so I knocked on his door and I said, can I borrow that deer? And he said, sure, knock yourself out. And I took it, and then I said, can I borrow it for a month? He said, knock yourself out. So I had this deer that I took around for a month, and I did some work with him. And then I had to return him, so I had to get my own deer. So the model Grace, we were at a friend's house in front of the barn that he had there, and we brought the deer, which is plastic, so she can't exactly sit on it. So she was trying to balance her feet on 2 blocks and she got her hair caught in the antlers. And she said, well, wait, I'm not ready. My hair's caught in the antlers. I said, stay just like that. So that's how this piece came about.
It feels mythological.
That's a good word, because that's where I want my work to go, in mythological. Yeah, I'm interested in that kind of thing, that kind of imagery. I always liked it.
Wonderful.
Let's see.
The Wisdom of the Saints now, this title. Any, you speak about the title?
Well, it just popped in my mind. In my mind when I was in church, I heard the title. I love to get titles from church, and I just thought, the Wisdom of the Saints. And to me, animals are really saints. I love animals, and I think they could tell us so much if they could just talk. So it's really the relationship of people to the animals, and how much I think of them, and basically the mystery of them, and how much they possibly could teach us. like I said, if they could talk, I know they know a lot. So that,
It could be read like she is communicating with the oracle.
yes,
Very cool.
And it seems like fate was at your hand here with the entanglement of the two of them by happenstance is fabulous.
yeah,
I think that's the creative process. Is sometimes you know you have an idea of where you're going. During the process, it develops and it evolves.
yes, absolutely. I know for me it does.
I think for
I-
everyone. I think for everyone.
Yeah, I try to be in the moment to just be able to catch those moments and ideas. And with Pinhole, it doesn't seem like you can be quick in doing those things. Where I think about the moment and people catching moments and things, I feel like it happens fast, but for me, it doesn't happen fast with Pinhole. So I'm really just always looking and put my camera on my tripod, and of course I'm just looking because just in case I could catch something.
I know. Have you ever thought of you doing creating a digital pinhole?
No, I don't. I tried to hold it once. I felt like throwing it out the window by the end of the day. It just doesn't feel like me at all. I don't
know.
think any other way than these tins. So,
So I'm saying that this is a very deliberate, slow process, and you really don't know the results until you get back in the darkroom.
right. And I really love the whole slowness of it and the whole cut and paste and then like stand in my little pinhole and all these kind of just loading the cameras and spray painting them. And I just think about what am I gonna do? It just feels very exciting to me. And then when you're in the dark room, my gosh, it's like you're opening presents. It's just such a great
It is. Yeah.
thing. It's just exceeding your
Photography-
imagination.
Photography was always like that. Watching the image come up in the darkroom was always a surprise back in the day.
Wonderful thing.
Go ahead, Pam.
I'm probably asking a question that was asked before. Again, forgive me because I got kicked off so much. I'm wondering, do you do test strips?
No, I don't.
What?
I don't. No.
Huh.
I mean, I don't do test strips, but sometimes if I say like, well, why aren't I getting enough distortion in this camera or something? I'll test the different lengths. Like, okay, I'm 6, and I'll mark my paper. Like, this was 6 foot from the subject. I might put a statue or something, whatever, and I try different locations, putting the camera certain heights and things to see what I'm doing or that I should be doing. And that's the kind of testing I do for before I shoot sometime.
Do you
What was that? I think we
We lost Pam again. My question would be, have you experimented with different pinhole sizes? Is that an issue at all? Or is it always the same?
Well, I try to make them the same. I really don't know if they are. I can't see that well, but I'm just pretty lax about it. I guess I just say, oh, that looks pretty good. But I think that I think that some of the pinholes are smaller because I can tell that the image is clearer. And I think that's because the pinhole was smaller in some of the tins and larger and they're softer. So I think they vary. You do.
And are you making these in like a piece of tin foil or actually a piece of metal?
I go right through I thin the metal with the Dremel tool. So I have a couple cameras where I did cut the metal out and then use like a piece of soda tin, a Coke or something, and you just drill right through the little thin tin.
Right.
But now I just go right with the Dremel tool and I thin the metal so it's thin enough, and then I'll drill my pinhole.
Very
Yeah,
cool, very cool.
workshop.
So that's, so for a metal container, you just use the metal itself, but for a
Absolutely.
cardboard, you use a piece of, tin can tin or something.
Yeah, that's what you would do. I don't have any cardboard. Mine are all tins, but that's what you would do.
Okay, cool, cool. Paul, are we at the end of the slideshow or are there more?
I just wanted to say, this would make a very interesting workshop,
It would?
creating pinholes.
Indeed. Oh, that's another question though, Sharon. Have you ever taken a pinhole workshop?
I took the pinhole workshop with Dan McCormick, but
Okay.
I had been doing pinhole before that, but I just thought, oh, they're going to work with a model and up in Poughkeepsie. Oh, I'd love to do that. So my friend and I, we went for a couple of years. We just did the Pinhole Day workshop, which Pinhole Day happens the last Sunday in April. This year, I don't think I'm participating in anything. I'll be away, but yes, so that's how I met Dan, through a workshop. But yeah, so anyway, this
Very
is
cool.
another.
Well, let's discuss this one. Another wisdom of the saints image, communicating with a cat.
Yeah, so near where I live, I passing this bakery, and they have all these animals outside. It's just the craziest thing. I mean, just everywhere. And I thought, oh, there's a cow on a roof. Okay, I think I have to go there. So my daughter, that's my daughter posing, and I said, hey, interact with the cow, do something, So she put her arm up like she's trying to reach the cow, and that's her spirit buddy or something. I don't know, but so it was interesting. I like the tones in this piece.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very cool. The cows almost look like they're communicating with the higher spirits themselves.
Yes, exactly.
Paul, try the next one.
Uh,
Look, that's the last one we have. Okay. Can we go back to the first slide? The first slide we have with all the information. Slide number 1.
this one?
Yeah, the sky. So, Sharon, your series is really fascinating. I mean, I'm looking forward. You've been doing this for 15 years. I've really got to look over your website a lot more than I have. Now I have some more time. I intend to do that.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for participating in this gallery talk. It's been a real pleasure having you here talking to us. It's been really interesting. Does anyone else have any questions?
Well, yeah. Hi, this is Michael. Hey, Sharon.
Hi.
Hi. What can I say? I love your images a lot, and you have heard that probably many times. But you know what? I think actually, in my view, you take the definition of being a master, because your technique, as quirky as it may be, with the stray light, with the distortions, and what I also love is that cloudiness in the blacks and the dark grays. You bring that all together into one coherent image, and all of a sudden it all comes together and is an outstanding piece of art. It's not anymore about Pinhole. It's really these are wonderful images, and I think you can be quite proud of them. Why should I say that? I'm the only photographer that I kind of think had a similar approach, had a huge exhibition at ICP, maybe 10 years or so. Maybe you know him. His name is Miroslav Tichy, who built his own cameras out of pieces of cardboard and old glasses, old goggles and things. And he had received, huge resonance in the community. And I think you deserve the same.
Oh,
Maybe,
wow.
you know what? I think Pinhole is just too distracting. I would erase it from your portfolio, from from your tiles. This is more than just Pinhole. You bring this all together. It all makes sense is the wrong word. It just melts all together, into something. And that's what I call mastership, in my own little definitions. That's what I think mastership is. You overcome the medium, it's flying. You're there,
Well, thank you. That is absolutely just a wonderful compliment. And no, but I do agree that in the beginning it was just this novel thing that I was doing, and people are fascinated by Pinhole and all that. But then I forget about it after a while, and it's just my medium, and it's not hopefully it's just a good piece because it's Pinhole or something. That I just want it to be a good piece of art despite the medium.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
One more question. So you say sometimes you have to pose your models. They have to pose still for a minute or 2 or even 3 minutes, so they don't move. But what about you? Are you moving?
Yes.
Are you moving?
I'm pacing.
You're pacing?
Pacing, counting and pacing.
Okay, all right. Good.
I'm praying we don't have a gust of wind or something.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Which, as along that line, you're pacing. The model's holding still. Are you, before the process, I mean, are you directing the model into any particular pose, or is it more of a collaborative process usually?
Oh, it's collaborative. And poor models, I say, I think I know what I want. I want to be I want you to be reclining. Right? They're getting down on the ground. Nah, I don't think I want that. I think standing's the way to go. Nah, I don't think I want that. It's just like up and down. And so, but a lot of the times it's just, and I could tell this, and I know that we're in the flow when this happens, that the model is thinking about what they're going to do next when they're posing. And so they'll just go into another pose because they've been thinking about it. And I love that.
That's great. That's traditional what models do during like a fashion shoot or something.
Yes.
But
yes.
this is a much slower process.
Right. Yes.
And here's another question off the, going in another direction. Have you ever done self-portraits?
No. And I don't intend to. I don't think so. No. I don't have any interest really.
Okay. It'd be hard to do, I think. Maybe not with a pinhole. I'm not sure. Anyone else out there with?
Hello?
Yeah.
We
Can you hear me?
Pam. Yeah.
Now we can.
Okay, oh, great. Okay, I had one other question, Sharon. I was wondering if when you're shooting a specific setup, do you ever shoot with multiple pinhole cameras at the same time from different positions?
Two tripods, yes. I can, sometimes I do work with 2 cameras especially if I'm pressed for time, and I'll do, one tripod here, maybe go over a few feet, do another angle. Maybe I'll come up high and aim down on one. Maybe I'll go low on the tripod and aim up on the other one. And it's 2 different angles and same pose. Yes. But only 2.
Even though you have 25 cameras with you at times, you'll
Right.
do 2 at a time. Very cool. Very cool.
They're gorgeous.
Did I interrupt you, Pam? Sorry.
No.
Okay, good. Anyone else out there with a question for Sharon? If not, we're coming up, we've been here an hour or so. I think this has been an incredibly fascinating talk. Thank you, Sharon, for coming in and doing this talk. This will be up on our YouTube channel as soon as I get a chance to edit it and put it up there, which will probably be a couple days. No, it's going to be more than a couple days, but next week it'll definitely be up there. It's just fascinating. This is your whole series. I mean, I think that Michael made a good point that this transcends pinhole photography. You've transcended the medium. The medium is not the message in your case. The images are the message. And right, exactly. And pinhole allows the concentration to go on creating the image and ignoring and forgetting the process as much as possible,
Yes.
which I really love. I really love that. That's so much photography is, too technical, and this eliminates everything about it. Turns it totally into basics. At the beginnings, everything is slow, everything's deliberate. In fact, it would be the only thing that is different from if you were doing this in 1839, pointing your window out of your Paris apartment when photography started, would be that the film, the paper is actually sensitive to red, where back in the day it wasn't. So very cool, very cool. And I think the transcendence that you've brought to photography is fantastic. I really applaud you for it. I'm glad we had you as our winner for your best shot. And I'm really happy that we got to do this talk, and we have it going to be on our YouTube channel and record it. Anyone else have comments? Paul, anyone? No? All right, then I would say thank you everyone for coming. And congratulations on being our best shot winner, one of our best shot winners for 2020.
I just want to say thank you very, very, very.
Put it out.
Go ahead, Pam, you're breaking up a bit.
I think we lost you, Pam.
Yeah, she's
I'm
just.
sorry. Hello?
You're breaking up.
Yeah.
You're breaking up,
Hello?
Pam.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. Again, fotofoto is Long Island's premier photographic art gallery. I think we're the only exclusively photographic art gallery on Long Island. And we try to bring creative content, the most creative people out there working today. And Sharon Harris is certainly one of the premier ones out there. I think everyone would agree with that. Thank you again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Sharon.
Thank you.